Yo, what's up, everyone? Yeah, I just blocked someone for spamming late, 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 late. You've been warned. You've been warned. Do you know how many things go into setting up for a live stream when what you're covering just ended? Any idea? You got to wait for their video to finish processing, which takes a while, especially if it's just ended. Then you have to download it. Then you have to find the part you want. Then you have to anyway. There's a lot of stuff. Then you have to anyway. Not even going to break it down. So one guy just got blocked. So anyway, I did not watch the memorial service. My brother came over and we were watching football today. And for all you French people who are going, but there was not even a football game today. We're not talking about soccer. We were watching football today. And as far as Charlie Kirk's memorial service is concerned, the main parts I would be interested in are the speeches. So I figured I'd wait until the whole thing is posted. It's like 9 hours. But they had tons of stuff in there, songs and speeches and so on. Mainly interested in the speeches, so I figured I'd wait till it's all over, and then I can basically check out the speeches I was interested in. And they had a bunch. Frank Turek, I saw Frank Turek was in there. I'd be interested in checking out Frank Turek's speech. Erika, we're going to watch Erika's speech right now because she was the one who's most trending. I don't know why she wasn't the one who spoke last. Trump spoke last. I don't know whose plan that was. But Erika's speech is obviously the one everyone's most interested in. And I actually saw on CNN, I clicked on CNN, and it said on CNN that she forgave her husband's assassin and so on. And what is this? The witch forgave Israel as a humiliation ritual. Okay, guys, we're going to be a low tolerance level today for this kind of stuff. Where is that? Okay, I will be blocking some people who are being mean. They're not being mean to me, just for being absolute scumbags. All right, hide user on this channel. And that was happening in the comments as it was going on. I'm basically watching football, and then when there's a break, I click over just to see what people are saying in the chat. And lots of, Candace Owens is right. Oh my goodness, why are you hiding the truth about that Candace has revealed? It's actually pretty disgusting. I hope they don't even release the comments. I mean, I hope they don't release the chat from the thing. But anyway, I saw Frank Turek was on there at some points. They had other people, pretty much everyone in the Trump administration. I saw that Marco Rubio, I think, was up there. I saw people on Twitter saying that he preached the gospel. So I want to check that out. Then there's that guy who's, he took over what the heck is his name? He took over the military, Secretary of Defense. I forget his name. He's the guy with the tattoos and stuff. So there's him, J.D. Vance, Erika, Trump, bunch of other speakers. I'll be picking the ones I'm interested in, and trying to think. I might just. Here's the thing: if I'm going to watch it, it's kind of in my mind. Like, okay, if I'm going to watch something, I might as well just jump on and go live and watch it with other people who haven't watched it yet. Let's see, where'd that go? Okay, yeah, Apostate of Allah said, I turned it off when Tucker came on and turned it back on when he was done. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It was interesting because, one, it's like, I understand Tucker's like a huge voice still, but it's clear what direction he's going in. I mean, he's been just endlessly praising Russia and Qatar, and now thinks Sharia's not as bad as anyone thinks, and he's praising Islamic submission and, of course, declaring war on Israel with every nutty conspiracy theory that comes across his little channel. But anyway, what was interesting about that is, so two things. One, they still They still want Tucker associated with their group. But two, it was clear that Candace was strongly suggesting that the reason she's not there and speaking is because the Jews threatened Turning Point not to let her speak. And that's why she's not there. Well, guess what? She's also the ones going around saying, and my sources tell me, and when she says her sources tell her something, she invariably means someone emailed her and said something, and then she just runs with it until someone refutes it. But she was saying that Netanyahu has offered $150 million to people to refute Tucker. I'm like, really? That to refute Tucker? I understand Tucker's got a huge following, but $150 million to make what? To make video responses about that guy? I'll do that. I'll do that for free, baby. I don't have I obviously don't have anywhere close to the following that Tucker does. But what I mean is there are plenty of people. If Tucker says something stupid, there are plenty of us who are willing to call him out and stuff. So the idea that, we have this $150 million campaign. I guess it's possible. Just I don't trust anything Candace says. But here's what's interesting. So let me get this straight, Candace. Israel was threatening Charlie Kirk. And that's what was apparently behind all this in Candace's mind, leading up to his assassination. And boy, she's still getting to the bottom of that. And then why wasn't Candace one of the speakers? They had all the important people speaking. Why wasn't Candace there? Because the Israel threatened them. Whatever happens, you better not have Candace. That's an ultimatum. And then, of course, what's their biggest concern? What's Israel's biggest concern? Tucker Carlson. That's why $150 million bounty on Tucker to make content against him and crush and humiliate him. But then Tucker's speaking at the event. So, Candace, you're going to have to get your story together, girl. You're going to have to get your story right. Is Israel pulling the strings behind this scene? Well, if so, and according to you, Israel is obsessed with silencing Tucker, why'd they let Tucker speak? Isn't that weird? Weird stuff. It's almost like you can make up anything you want to accuse anyone of. Anyway, so, ladies and gentlemen, just in my mind that if I'm going to go through some of these speeches, then why not just jump on live with anyone who wants to check them out? So, lots of trending stuff about Erika. That was the one people were talking about most. So we're going to go ahead and check out Erika's speech. Have not seen it. I don't think I saw anything. I think I just clicked on it to check the chat here and there. I'm trying to think. I don't recall. I think I saw maybe a minute of Trump talking. That was about it. I saw people posting Marco Rubio here. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into this. So this is Erika's speech.
God bless all of you for coming here from all over the world to honor and celebrate my Charlie. Just a few miles from here, 2 years ago, at America Fest 2023, Charlie delivered a speech on stage for our TPUSA Faith event. Charlie loves speaking off the cuff. He's very good at that, without a script. So I personally didn't know what he was going to say. And what he chose to speak about that day was his submission to the will of God. he quoted one of his favorite Bible verses, Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. "Here I am, Lord. Send me." After Charlie finished, I met him backstage, and I spoke to him, and I'll never forget this. I said, "Charlie, baby, please talk to me next time before you say that statement." Because when you say something like that, there is so much power in that verse. When you say, "Here I am, Lord, use me," God will take you up on that. And he did with Charlie. "11 days ago, God accepted that total surrender from my husband and then called him to his side. More than anything, Charlie wanted to do not his will, but God's will. And over these past 11 days, through all the pain, never before have I found as much comfort as I now do in the words of our Lord's Prayer, 'Thy will be done.'"
Hey, this is interesting. HM Fogg says, Giant DOC. Giant DOC reloaded. Can you ban at well, you know me for, quote, Charlie wanted to end Islam. Allah send Tyler. Praise the Lord. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Who's that? One second. Where's this Atwell everyone's talking about? Did someone already ban him? I stopped because people are saying ban Atwell. And now Giant DOC is saying type something Atwell. Okay. All right. Let's see. It would be funny saying that Allah sent Tyler to do this, because I don't know if anyone's paying attention, but this would be another epic fail from Allah if that was the plan.
God's love was revealed to me on the very day my husband was murdered. On the afternoon of September 10th, I arrived at a Utah hospital to do the unthinkable, to look directly at my husband's murdered body. I saw the wound that ended his life. I felt everything you would expect to feel. I felt shock. I felt horror and a level of heartache that I didn't even know existed. But there was something else too. Even in death, I could see the man that I love. I saw the one single gray hair on the side of his head, which I never told him about. Now he knows. Sorry, baby, telling you now, but never told him. Didn't want to. I also saw this. I also saw on his lips the faintest smile. And that told me something important. It revealed to me a great mercy from God in this tragedy. When I saw that, it told me Charlie didn't suffer. Even the doctor told me it was something so instant that even if Charlie had been shot in the operating room itself, nothing could have been done. There was no pain, there was no fear, no agony. One moment, Charlie was doing what he loved, arguing and debating on campus, fighting for the gospel and truth in front of a big crowd. And then he blinked. He blinked and saw his Savior in paradise. And all the heavenly mysteries were revealed to him. God's love continued to be revealed to me in the days that followed. The next day on the tarmac in Air Force Two, I confronted Usha Vance, precious woman. I held her hand and I told her, honestly, I do not know how I am going to get through this. She told me something. She said, you know when you're on an airplane with your kids and it's the last 15 minutes of the flight and things are crazy, kids are not cooperating, toys are flying everywhere and everyone's screaming. And you think to yourself, I cannot wait for this flight to land. And it's 15 minutes before you land. And she told me, you will get through these 15 minutes and the next 15 minutes after that. Usha, I don't think you realized it then, but those words were exactly what I needed to hear. But most of all, God's mercy and God's love have been revealed to me these past 10 days. After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting. We didn't see revolution.
Whoa, that was interesting. Go back right there. So that's Mr. Kennedy there. And beside him is his wife, who's an actress, and she's been under massive pressure because she's an actress to dump that guy. So it's interesting that, like, I didn't know what happened. I saw when he was endorsing Trump, she was talking about how she could continue being with him and so on. So I didn't know what happened after that, but it's interesting there. She's still there.
We didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what my husband always prayed he would see in this country. We saw revival.
I'm backing that up because that is an important, I interrupted a really important point because I didn't know they were still together. So I actually mentioned that.
You realized it then, but those words were exactly what I needed to hear.
And so a really important point that I interrupted here. So I took it back and I will not interrupt it this time.
But most of all, God's mercy and God's love have been revealed to me these past 10 days. After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting.
One second. Going to back it up one more time because I want to go ahead and deal with... All right, here we go. How can so-called Christians glorify such a racist person? Shame on all Christians. Hey, Bug, I'm going to go ahead and give you your one shot. Your one shot. Explain how Charlie Kirk was racist. Because it's interesting. I've actually heard that, and then I went and looked up what he actually said. Charlie didn't believe in race. He believed that race is a social construct. And guess what? He's right. Right? Like there are obvious differences between people. Some people are lighter, some people are darker, and so on. But how we lump people together, that's kind of on us, right? I mean, we could lump people together based on how tall they are, how what their weight is, how attractive they are, what their IQ is. We could lump people together based on almost anything. We lump people together based on collections of features. But Charlie didn't believe he just believed that that's what we do. We lump people together based on these features, and it's not real. It's something we're kind of making up. We're making up how we lump people together. And so you just said that he's a racist. Give us your best evidence. Give us your best evidence of him being a racist. I'm being nice because we're trying to watch a man's wife after he's been assassinated. We're trying to check out the speech, and you're in the chat saying he's a racist. Oh, shame on Christians. He's a racist. I've not seen any evidence at all that he's a racist. And every time someone has said that he's a racist and tried to give evidence, and I go and look up what he actually said, it's not what he actually said. What they're saying is not what he said. So go ahead. I'm giving you your opportunity. Get one shot. I'm just going to have to block you. Guys, am I not, if Charlie's a racist, dang it, I want to know it. So I'm giving Bog, who claimed that he's a racist, the opportunity to show that he's a racist. Obviously, if Bog is here calling someone a racist and telling us shame on us, Bog must be aware of powerful evidence that shows that this man was a racist. So just giving the opportunity. Anyone say anything yet? I'll wait about another 15 seconds, and then I'm just going to block Bog because I don't want Bog coming back 30 minutes from now and spamming again. Nothing. Did we get a response from Bog? Nothing from Bog. Isn't that like extremely slimy? Like, oh, how can you support Charlie? He's a racist. Okay, tell us how he's a racist. Silence. Crickets. All right. All right, Bog, you just got banned. That's on you, though. You had one shot. You failed. And you're failing at life. So better luck next time. All right.
Then.
Now, this is the third time trying to go through this without interruption. All right, I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to look at the chat. I'm not going to look at anything.
But those words were exactly what I needed to hear. But most of all, God's mercy and God's love have been revealed to me these past 10 days. After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting. We didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what my husband always prayed he would see in this country. We saw revival.
Catch that, everyone? Wasn't guy got shot, guy got murdered, and you didn't see people burning cities to the ground, going around killing people. There was not a destructive force. What you saw was, as she just pointed out, you saw revival. You saw tons of people, and I've seen tons of people in the comments, like just on X and on YouTube and so on, talking about going to church for the first time in their lives, or going to church in the first time in decades and so on, all after this. And I pointed this out in a different live stream, but you basically have two main forces at work in society. And it's a lot of different groups, but two main forces in society. You have forces that are trying to preserve and restore and rebuild and so on. And you have forces that are trying to tear everything down because they want to replace it with something else. The forces that are trying to tear stuff down because they want to replace it with something else, that's communists, socialists, Islamists, right? They want to rip it down and replace it with something else, a communist state and Islamic state. And so when something happens, when someone dies, when someone's killed, then they see it as an opportunity. Let's get everyone riled up and start tearing stuff down. Let's add to the chaos and rip everything apart. Because that's what their goal ultimately is. And you have other forces that are saying, no, we need to preserve what is good and what works, and we need to restore what was working and that we got rid of. We need to rebuild things that have been torn down and so on. And so when someone from that side dies, then the tendency is it goes towards revival. That's where it is, because people are like, we have to keep what this person, we have to keep up this person's work. And if this person wanted revival, then by golly, we're going to have a revival.
This past week, we saw people open a Bible for the first time in a decade. We saw people pray for the first time since they were children.
She's saying what I just said.
We saw people go to a church service for the first time in their entire lives. Charlie liked to journal. And I say this because he did it to remember important moments and sayings that affected him. And one of the things he wrote in his journal was this: every time you make a decision, it puts a mark on your soul. To those of you out there who just made that decision and took the first step toward a spiritual life, I say thank you and welcome. One day I hope you look back and realize it was the most important decision of your life, because it is. All of you who are already believers, it is your job to shepherd these people. Do not take that lightly. Water the seed of their faith. Protect it and help it grow. Every day as Charlie rode into the office, he would go through his contact list. And I know there's many of you who were impacted by this. He would go through his contact list and send Bible verses for the day. He knew that faith was a habit. The more you live it, the more it grows. But know this too: the seed has only just been planted. The enemy will tempt you the most in a time like this one. God will always be there for you, but you must choose to mark your soul again and again in the direction of Christ. pray again, read the Bible again, go to church next Sunday, and the Sunday after that, and break free from the temptations and shackles of this world. Being a follower of Christ is not easy. It's not supposed to be. Jesus said, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. He said he would be persecuted. He said we would be persecuted. And Charlie knew that and happily carried his cross all the way to the end.
Ash May says, have you seen the clip of Fuentes calling Candace a low IQ anti-Semite? Yeah, I posted, I shared that clip on X, and I said, I can forgive Candace Owens for all the lying, for all the gaslighting, for all the deranged conspiracy theories. I can even forgive her for misleading so many of her dumb followers. But I can't forgive her for making me agree with Nick Fuentes. Sat there and watched that clip, and it was Nick, and he was just completely right in what he was saying about Candace. It was really, really weird. Normally I'm hearing Nick, and it's like, oh my goodness, what is this? I mean, to be fair, I don't watch like his whole shows. I watch clips that circulate. They're usually him saying some pretty disgusting stuff and so on. So the fact that I was like, wow, he's right on the money on this one was really, 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 really weird. So yeah. But anyway, that is interesting. I mean, when you had you also had, what's that guy's name? Dave something? Not Dave Rubin. Dave Smith. Dave Smith was blasting it away at all the insane conspiracy theories as well. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, if Dave Smith and Nick Fuentes are saying Candace has gone off the deep end on Israel, it's like you seriously, Candace, need to be rethinking things if they're the guys who are saying you've lost it. Weird stuff. Weird, wild stuff.
And I want all of you to know, while Charlie died far too early, he was also ready to die. There was nothing he was putting off. There was nothing that was too hard or too painful, or nothing that he just felt like he didn't want to do it. He left this world without regrets. He did 100% of what he could every day. But I want you to know something. Charlie died with incomplete work, but not with unfinished business.
Ooh, hang on.
But I will miss him.
Oh, interesting. Hey, we have someone came in here to rescue Bog. Lewis says, Charlie said black women didn't have the brain power to hold prominent positions in employment, but was ignorant to the 3 black women at NASA that calculated the trajectory for Moon. Lewis, this is an example of something where someone says something. And what's amazing, Lewis, you gullible little idiot, you. What's interesting is everyone will hear that and just pass it along as fact. And almost no one in your little camp will bother to look it up, to look up what he actually said. I just did, because Ilhan Omar was just at some sort of town hall, and she was asked, hey, how are you still trash talking Charlie? And the guy just died and so on. And Ilhan Omar's response was, we're not going to remember this guy as a good guy because he was bad, and here's why. That was the most important thing. That was the most important example she gave. And I was sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I've seen a clip of him saying that race is a social construct, and he doesn't believe that race is Again, you can have real features of people, but how we lump people together and say this group is this, that's us. That's us making decisions about how we're going to lump people together. You could take different characteristics of people and lump people together based on different features. You could lump people and you could say everyone who's over 5'10", you're in this group. Everyone under 5'10", you're in this group. Everyone who has an IQ over 100, you're in this group. Everyone who has an IQ under 100, you're in this group. You could lump people together based on anything. So again, they're real features, but how we group people together, that is a social construct. So I was wondering, it wouldn't make sense that he was saying this. So I actually went and looked up the clip, Lewis, and this is why you're getting banned unless you apologize for passing on completely false information. I went and looked it up. He was talking about, and by the way, he said the opposite of what you're saying. You gullible little dirtbag here. He said the opposite of what you're saying. He was talking about affirmative action because I went and found it. I already downloaded it. It's on Rumble. He was talking about affirmative action. And when affirmative action apparently got outlawed or something like that at places, schools, things like that, and you had 4 women, one's a congresswoman, one I think was a judge and so on. Anyway, they came forward and they said that they only were able to get into school because of affirmative action. And he said, what you're telling me is you're idiots. That you couldn't get in based on your merits. You had to get in based on affirmative action. He's making fun of them, saying, this is why the stuff you say sounds so dumb. You didn't earn your spot. You were chosen because of something else other than your merits. And this is when he gave his famous airplane pilot example, which people also completely distort what he was saying. He said, if you choose your pilots based on who's the most qualified, he said, I don't care what race they are. It's not, their race is not going to bother me. He said, if you start choosing your pilots based on race, then I'm going to see whatever race you're picking people from. And I'm going to be suspicious if I see that person in the cockpit. Why? Because he wasn't picked based on merits. He was picked based on race. And he said, I'm going to think, well, is this person the most qualified for the job? And so he was criticizing affirmative action and picking people based on something other than who earned the spot. And at the end of all of that, he said, I don't care what race you are. I care whether you've earned your spot at whatever you're doing. Now, would a racist say, I don't care what race you are? No, because for a racist, what race you are is extremely important. For lots of them, it's the most important thing in the universe. Charlie's saying, I don't care. I just care whether you earned your spot. Now, here's the thing. If you wanted to say Charlie's wrong about affirmative action is good, and therefore he's wrong to have a negative view of affirmative action, say that. But that's not what you say. You say, Charlie said black women didn't have the brain power to hold prominent positions in employment. Not what he said. He said, if you were chosen for a position based on affirmative action, if you were chosen for this because of the color of your skin and not because of something else, not because you are the most qualified or you've earned it, I don't trust you at whatever you're doing. That's what he said. So why'd you pass that on, Lewis? It took me all of 5 minutes to find the live stream he said it in and look up exactly what he said, and it was not what you guys are saying. So why'd you pass that on? Going to give you one opportunity to apologize. Other than that, you're gone, because if you are a person who doesn't care if you just passed on massively deceptive and misleading information about a guy who was just assassinated, why was he assassinated? Because of people like you passing on complete nonsense about him. That's why. I guarantee you, if we were to sit down with Tyler Robinson, the guy who shot him, if we were to sit down with Tyler Robinson and say, Tyler, why'd you have to do it? I guarantee it's going to be stuff. He said black women didn't have brain power to hold prominent positions. He said it. Not what he said. But it's going to be people like you who spread all this nonsense that actually got him killed. So I'm giving you an opportunity to be a man and to apologize. And if you don't, I just have to regard you as an evil, lying scumbag who just doesn't care, and you're deliberately doing it. If you can be corrected on it and you don't care, and you just keep passing it on, then you're... he didn't apologize. Instead, he's saying, wait till Charlie sees Jesus and he'll see. All right, so you're gone, buddy. Let me find you there. Hey, where'd Lewis go? Did someone else take him out? Hey, where's next Zucker Nike? Hey, next Zucker Nike, find Lewis. I lost him. I don't know if someone else took him off. All right, let's go ahead and check this out. So, guys, we've had multiple liars here already. It's pretty simple. Guys, here's what's interesting. Charlie has limitless, endless videos. Tons and tons and tons and tons of videos. If you wanted to criticize him for something, it should be very easy to pull up the clip and say, here's what he said, here's why it's evil. Every single time so far, every single time someone has said, here's what he said, it's the most evil thing ever, and I look it up, it's not what he said. Why is that? If you can only condemn a person as horrible and evil if you lie about what the person said, what's that? That kind of tells you about. It kind of tells you about you, not about not about the person, right? Anyway, wild stuff. Here we go.
I will miss him so much because our marriage and our family were beautiful. They still are. The greatest cause in Charlie's life was trying to revive the American family. When he spoke to young people, he was always eager to tell them about God's vision for marriage and how, if they could just dare to live it out, it would enrich every part of their life in the same way that it enriched ours. And someone once asked me how Charlie and I, how we kept our marriage so strong when he was busy traveling. And our little secret, it was love notes. Every Saturday, Charlie wrote one for me, and he never missed a Saturday. And in every single one of them, he'd tell me what his highlight was for the week, how grateful he was for me and our babies. And always at the end, he would always end it with asking the most beautiful question. He'd always end it by asking, please let me know how I can better serve you as a husband. Charlie perfectly understood God's role for a Christian husband. A man who leads so that they can serve. To all the men watching around the world, accept Charlie's challenge and embrace true manhood. Be strong and courageous for your families. Love your wives and lead them. Love your children and protect them. Be the spiritual head of your home. But please be a leader worth following. Your wife Your wife is not your servant. Your wife is not your employee. Your wife is not your slave. She is your helper. You are not rivals. You are one flesh working together for the glory of God.
It's weird. It's weird how people have had ways of doing things for a long time, and they do things that really work and work to build strong families and work to build. You get enough strong, good families together, and that makes an awesome society. And then people get ideas in their heads and say, but wouldn't it be great if we do things this way? And it like destroys families and destroys societies, but it still works in their heads, even though it doesn't work in real life. And they're just become obsessed with doing the same thing over and over again. Thomas Sowell said that. It was either in the 1980s or I think he said it in the 1990s. I got the book somewhere around here. But he said, and again, he said this in the 90s. So he was talking about stuff that had started in the 60s. But he said, we spent the past 30 years replacing what works with what sounds good. So here's all the things that work. And he said, we're replacing all those things that work with what sounds good. And the things that sound good keep sounding good to people no matter how much they don't work. Like socialism sounds really good to people. It never works. Communism sounds great to people. It doesn't work. Raisin Bread said, thank you, David, for blocking people who are making stupid and insensitive comments. Notice before I blocked them, I gave them an opportunity to prove that what they're saying is true, right? Or to recognize that they actually said something that's false. And I gave them an opportunity to be a man and to simply apologize. That's it. I would have moved on. Hey, David. Oh, yeah, David, you're right. I heard that. I assumed it was true. I never bothered to look it up. I should have looked it up. Yeah, Stephen King's a perfect example, right? Stephen King, the author. When Charlie died, and people were talking about it, Stephen King posted, well, he did say gays should be stoned to death. And everyone jumped all over him and then showed him what Charlie actually said in context. Stephen King apologized. He said, I should have checked before sharing that. I should have checked before saying that. He said, I looked it up. Charlie wasn't saying that gays should be stoned to death. He was criticizing people for cherry picking verses and so on. And he apologized. He repeatedly apologized. There was like a bunch of apologies because he's responding to different people and posting apologies. Guess what? Stephen King's kind of a douche in lots of other ways, but I can respect him for that. I can respect him for, once he said something, not doubling down when he's corrected, but instead saying, I apologize, I was wrong. I should not have said that. I was wrong for not looking that up. And so when someone says something that's completely false, guess what, guys? We've all heard stuff and sort of run with it without investigating. We've all done that. And therefore you can't hold it too much against people because it's something we've all done. But when you actually see that what you said was false, how do you not be a man and just say, wow, I was wrong? Like, what level of narcissist do you have to be? I don't know, but you're not someone I want to see anymore. I don't want to talk to you. In other words, if you say something is completely false and I show you, hey, what you just said is completely false, correct yourself and apologize, and you just double down, okay, you're not a person I'm interested in communicating with. Because you have no respect for truth. You have no respect for truth. Why would I want to have a conversation with someone who's evil and has no respect for truth and loves lying about people? So anyway, yeah. I suspect we'll be seeing lots of this in the coming days and months, everyone.
I was Charlie's confidant. I was his vault, his closest and most trusted advisor, his best friend. I poured into him and loved him so deeply, empowered him, because his love for me drove me to be a better wife. Every day he honored me, and I prayed that I could be the wife that God needed me to be for my husband.
Hey, by the way, guys, You want to talk about healthy relationships, families, and so on? Like, what happens nowadays? Everyone is telling you, people are telling the man, yeah, you need to be in control. You need to crush her. And like the Andrew Tate style guys, you have to, you treat women like objects and stuff, and you make sure you're completely crushing them into submission every moment of every day. And then the women, you're told, hey, you need to, you don't need a man. You don't need you don't need a man. But if you have a man, then you need to make sure he all the things they tell women. And here you've got them, and she's saying, Charlie's asking her, how can I be a better husband to you? How can I be the best husband I can be for you? And she understands Charlie has work to do, and he's got a lot going. He's got a lot of people after him and so on. And all she's focused on is being the best wife she can be towards him, building him up, strengthening him. Imagine that. You've got a husband who's like, how can I be the best husband for you? And you've got a wife who's like, how can I be the best wife to you? And we're told we need to be the opposite. It's the husband's focus should be on, how do I make this woman do exactly what I want? And the wife's job should be, how do I make this dude be exactly what I want? And the heck is wrong with people, man?
Women, I have a challenge for you too. Be virtuous. Our strength is found in God's design for our role. We are the guardians. We are the encouragers. We are the preservers. Guard your heart. Everything you do flows from it. And if you're a mother, please recognize that is the single most important ministry you have.
Did you catch that, everyone? That's important. I never say this kind of, I don't even know if I've ever shared this, but there were times like way back in the day, you're talking like 2008, 2009, 2010 and stuff. I've mentioned before, I've told you guys before, but I always tell this in the context of people not realizing how good they have it right now. If you're doing apologetics, you're criticizing Islam and so on. If you go back to 2006, 2007, 2008, if you were criticizing Islam back then, it sucked. I've mentioned it before. You had the online keyboard jihadis and Muslims and so on sending you endless death threats, and I would get like 30 or 40. It's nowhere near as many now. Now it's like an occasional death threat. Back then, I might get 30, 40, 50 death threats in a day after I posted something. And people would say, it's not just against me, it's against my wife, it's against my mother, it's against my kids. People saying, hey, we've been watching your apartment. I got pictures of your kids. You want me to send you the pictures of your kids so you know I'm right here watching you and stuff like that. It's just endless. So that's what you're getting from Muslims. From atheists, you are getting, how dare you criticize another person's religion when you're religious? All religions are stupid, you dumb idiot. Ha ha ha. And they would just call you stupid, even though you're like, dude, I'm blasting away. This is to help you too, you stupid idiot. You giant moron. I'm trying to help you too, you stupid atheist, because they're going to come after you too. I'm trying to protect you, and you're blasting away at me. And then you also caught it from Christians who, how dare you criticize someone's religion? It's hurting their feelings. And the worst thing you could do as a Christian is hurt someone's feelings. It's not loving. Back then, Christians were taught it's not loving to hurt someone's feelings. And so you are getting blasted by Muslims, by atheists, by your fellow Christians. It felt like everyone is stabbing you from every single direction they could come at. They could come at you with. And then beyond that, all politicians across the board were saying that if you criticize Islam, you're a horrible racist bigot. Journalists were saying it. You were getting attacked by from every single direction. And so anyway, I've mentioned that sort of thing before. But connecting that to what Erika just said, when all that was going on, you're just attacked from every single direction, and you're sitting there thinking, what the heck is the point, man? No one's listening, and everyone just hates you for saying this stuff. Why am I? These are all the people I'm trying to help. I'm trying to help the Muslims. I'm trying to help them, and they're threatening to kill me. I'm trying to help them, get them out of this cult, and they're saying they want to kill me for it. I'm trying to help atheists because the same guys that are coming after me are going to come after them. I'm trying to help them. And Christians, do you not realize what lies these guys have in their heads? I'm trying to destroy the lies in their heads so that they can understand the gospel. Why is everyone attacking me? When that would happen, something I repeatedly thought, again, this is like 2007, 2008, 2009. I would think repeatedly, you know what? You got all these keyboard jihadis, they're threatening to brutally murder me. I've got atheists telling me I'm stupid, and I got Christians telling me I'm a terrible, terrible, bad Christian. You know what? My wife's got my back every step of the way. And that's enough. I thought that repeatedly. Whatever else goes wrong, my wife's got my back. So, Erika's offering good advice to everyone out there right now.
In our home, because Charlie traveled a lot, we tried to travel with him where we could. But I made sure that when Charlie returned from work, it was his sacred landing place, away from the worries of the world. I didn't make him feel guilty for being away too long or too much or getting home too late. I always told him, home is here for you, and it'll be ready for you. And I made it into this place where he wanted to be as soon as possible when he was on the road. There was no keeping score between us. We were a team, working together for the same mission. I never wanted to be the one standing between Charlie and the task that God prepared for him, had set for him. And I knew Charlie would always do his best to help me with the same. My marriage with Charlie was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I know it was the best thing that ever happened to him as well. He wanted everyone to experience that joy. And that's what's so beautiful about God's design for marriage, is that everyone can. And I could talk endlessly about it, and years to come I will. But Charlie's mission above all was aimed directly at those who aren't married. He named his organization well. He knew things were not right with America, and especially with young people, and they needed a new direction. Charlie passionately wanted to reach and save the lost boys of the West, the young men who feel like they have no direction, no purpose, no faith, and no reason to live. The men wasting their lives on distractions, and the men consumed with resentment, anger, and hate. Charlie wanted to help them. He wanted them to have a home with Turning Point USA. And when he went onto campus, he was looking to show them a better path and a better life that was right there for the taking. He wanted to show them that. My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. that young man. That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us. The world needs Turning Point USA. It needs a group that will point young people away from the path of misery and sin. It needs something that will lead people away from hell in this world and in the next. It needs young people pointed in the direction of truth and beauty. And so I promise you today, every part of our work will become greater. I am tremendously honored to be the new CEO of Turning Point USA. I do not take that lightly. Charlie and I were united in purpose. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission. Everything that Turning Point USA built through Charlie's vision and hard work, we will make 10 times greater through the power of his memory. Chapters will grow, thousands of new ones will be created. TPUSA Faith will add thousands of new pastors and congregations. And yes, campus events will continue, and we will continue to hold debates and dialogue. The First Amendment of our Constitution is the most human amendment. We are naturally talking beings, naturally believing beings. And the First Amendment protects our right to do both. No assassin will ever stop us from standing up to defend those rights, ever. Because when you stop the conversation, when you stop the dialogue, this is what happens. When we lose the ability and the willingness to communicate, we get violence. And as I stand here now, and I look at this beautiful photo of my husband in front of me, hanging in the stadium, I think of my husband 13 years ago. I hadn't met him yet. He was 18 years old, a man barely out of high school, running around the halls of the RNC, without a dollar in his pocket and a single contact in his phone. People who saw him said that he didn't know what he was doing, but he did. He did know what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was going to change the world, and he did. Charlie's life was a turning point for this country. It was a miracle. Let that miracle that was Charlie's life be your turning point as well. Choose prayer. Choose courage. Choose beauty. Choose adventure. Choose family. Choose a life of faith. Most importantly, choose Christ. I love you, Charlie, baby. And I will make you proud. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Still not sure why Trump went last and not her. Isn't that weird? Like, let me put it this way. If that was Trump's call to have Trump go last, dirtbag move, because she's obviously the most important speaker, and everything should have led up to her. So the only thing that would actually be forgivable as far as like people, I'm not talking about in the Christian sense of not being able to kind of, it's hyperbole. The only defensible way to have Trump go last and not her would be if that's what she said. If she said, I'll speak next to last, and why don't we let the president of the United States speak last? Anyway, that's my thoughts. I'd be interested in why that choice is made. Let's take super chats, guys. So anyway, guys, I mentioned, didn't watch this. If you tuned in late, I didn't watch this while it was happening and so on. I figured I'd check it out afterwards because mainly interested in the speeches of various people. But for the relevant speeches that I want to watch, I'll probably just jump on live when I'm going to watch them. Probably one at a time, unless it's a couple of the shorter ones, and then we'll watch a couple shorter ones. So anyway, if you haven't seen those, I'll probably be covering those in the next couple of days. Let's take some super chats and then we'll close out. Sandman says, "See, D. Wood, this is why you should forgive Mike Winger." I know, but it's hard. A powerful moment when she forgave him. Yeah. Yeah, that was. And forgiveness in this sense, guys, it's, and I even saw in the chat, but it always happens. People have weird ideas about forgiveness and love and things nowadays, but it's like the concept of love. If you say, hey, I'm commanded to love everyone, so I love everyone. I even love my enemies. And then the response will be, oh, so what are you saying? That if someone comes into a house to rape your wife, you're just going to sit there and just love the man and not stop it? Like, what do you think I mean by love? If you think that means I would let some, I mean, put it this way, put it this way. If that's what you mean by love, love means letting anyone do any horrible thing they want and not stopping them. I know that a big thing about, Turning Point is having families and getting, having kids and so on. But if what you think love means is letting people do any horrible thing that crosses their minds and not stopping them, please don't have kids until you change that, until you change what you think about love. Because are you going to be like, if that's what you mean by love, you'll be like, well, my kid's about to burn the house down with those matches he's playing with, but I love him, so I'm not going to stop him. Yeah, so guys, loving people, forgiving people, and so on doesn't mean there are no consequences for what people do. It's basically you want what's best for people, not what's worst for people. So if you say you love Tyler Robinson, that means, you know what? I want the best for Tyler Robinson. I want him to realize what he did was wrong and evil, to repent, to spend the rest of his life trying to do the right thing and so on, even if he's in prison, even if he gets the death penalty, that sort of thing. Doesn't mean, I think he should just get away with it because I love him. It's not what it means. Let's see. As a Christian, you are supposed to forgive. Yeah, again, that does not mean things like no consequences and so on. M. Winger got invited. D. Wood didn't. Draw your conclusions. Yep. People have. Well, it's Mike Winger. He's probably like an underground crime boss and has connections to get his way, no matter what the situation is. D. Wood, ban Atwell. Already did that, I think. Ban, or did I? Maybe someone else did. Ban Atwell, you know me, this lover boy of his al-Zut loving prophet is saying sick things. Yeah, I couldn't find him, so I assume someone else banned him. Allah worked in funny ways when he sent al-Zut. Oh yeah, I think that was a response to Atwell saying that Charlie decided he wanted to go after Islam, and then Allah stopped him. And Allah works in funny ways. And then this is the response. Allah worked in funny ways when he sent al-Zut. A. Blue says, she is a strong, godly woman who did what most people couldn't even imagine doing. We should all be praying for her and their family. God bless you, David. Yeah, especially during this time. I mean, she's got difficult road ahead with kids and trying to, again, as far as I know, she hasn't even told their daughter. She told her daughter that Charlie was away doing some special work with Jesus. But yeah, she's going to have to be dealing with that kind of situation and also trying to continue the work of Turning Point and so on. So yeah, she's got a lot of work ahead of her. So yeah, definitely want to be praying for her and supporting Turning Point. Shameful to see Trump evil ego rambling after Erika. That's what I'm expecting. It did seem, I was scrolling through and I was like, wait, he's still speaking? Wait, scrolling through, wait, he's still speaking? Scrolling through, well, he's still speaking. So yeah. I hope there were good points. But yeah, might check that out. Probably going to check that out. We'll see. Muhammad is like the Spanish Inquisition. No one expected him either. I wanted to get that in last stream, but wasn't watching live. No one expected Muhammad. No one expected al-Zut, except Muhammad, who invited him. Erika's speech, best evangelistic moment in decades. Yeah, and it is awesome that you got someone like Tyler Robinson. I'm going to shut this dude down and take him out. And then you've got the response is powerful stuff that's amplifying everything you wanted to do. So Black woman here. Charlie was not racist. Bog. Christians don't hate people based on 6-second clips out of context. Do better. Yeah, that's true. Sadly, Bog can't respond because Bog got banned. But I probably will make a video out of that with the Ilhan Omar clip, because Ilhan Omar is still saying it. She's still saying, Charlie Kirk said, black women don't have the mental ability to think through things and so on. Not even close to what he said. But anyway, might have a fact-checking video on some of this stuff. Trump, he did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent and don't want the best for them. That sounds like Trump just being honest. I get there wasn't violence, but how do we actually expand the church to the negatively influenced people? I don't want to end up separated like Rome. Yeah, I don't know what you mean about how do we actually expand the church to the negatively influenced people happening all around you. Personally, I'd never be able to forgive the monster who took away my spouse like that. Erika's a much better Christian than I am, too. Keep in mind, it's debatable as far as like what you mean. Like if someone repents, you're supposed to forgive them. Just saying, hey, you did this horrible thing, I forgive you. Again, I would have to, that's not saying, hey, everything is fine now, or you're totally good. It's more like, there's a part of me that wants to destroy you for what you've done. I'm not going to let that part of me control me. You know what? I want what's best for you, in spite of the horrible, evil thing you just did. But also notice, in passages in the Bible, we tend to think of forgiveness and love and things as feelings, right? It's a feeling. Your feelings aren't always under the control of your will, right? And when you think of some horrible, evil person, it might not be under the control of your will to just think warmly or fondly of the person. If you look at how these commands are used in the Bible, they're always connected to action, right? Like, what does Jesus say? You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you so that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. Or when the Apostle Paul, and he's referring back to the Old Testament, or the Apostle Paul, when he says, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him a drink. Notice, they're connecting this to actions. They're connecting this to actions, not to feelings. They're not connecting it to feelings. They're connecting it to actions. So if someone has done some horrible, evil thing to you, and I say, love him, well, that if you're thinking love is just like a feeling, that may not be under your control. You may not be able to have warm feelings toward the person. If I say that guy's your enemy, pray for him. This guy did this horrible, evil thing. Pray for him. Is that under the control of your will? That's totally, it doesn't matter how you feel. You can still do what you're commanded to do. Same thing with feeding someone. Hey, you know what? This guy used to be the biggest bully in school, and he stole my girlfriend way back then, and I can't stand this dude. But you know what? Look at how his life turned out. He's homeless now. I could sit here and love the fact that this guy ended up homeless after all the horrible stuff he's done. But you know what? I'm going to try to help this guy. That is under your control. Your actions are under the control of your will, more so than your emotions are. So anyway, that's important to keep in mind. It's important to keep it in mind. Even if he said racist things, so effing what? Unaliving him is unacceptable. Tucker, Barack Obama, Mamdani, Omar, Joy Reid, AOC, Barney S. all say many racist things. Violence is unacceptable, period. R.I.P. Charlie. Yeah, so you have, that's an ongoing thing where you say, gosh, it's messed up. They killed Charlie Kirk while speaking on campus. They'll go, oh, but look, he said this thing. And so there are two things. One, even if he said that, you don't kill someone for saying that. You would, what? What should you do? You should debate him. And the guy literally has an open mic sitting in front of him. He has an open mic. Anyone who wants to challenge anything he says can step up. So even if he did say that, why don't you step up to the mic and refute him or expose him or point out what an evil guy he is? Why not do that? So that's one. So one, even if he said that, you don't kill him over it. But in fact, this is an even if, but in fact, even if he said that thing, that's not something you kill someone over. But in fact, he didn't even say it. He didn't even say these things. And if you want to make it a rule, anytime someone says something really messed up, they got to die. Oh, gosh, you're going to have a long list of people you want to kill. I'll use 7-second clips to lie about people for Bog. But seriously, powerful speech by Erika. Yeah. I haven't seen much from AP this week. I hope he's doing okay. Send him our best wishes and blessings. Nope, AP has been traveling. He was in multiple countries in Europe, and then he got back and he was all worn out, and we're going to get back on track because he has another, but before he has another big trip coming up. But then he got an invitation to go to the Charlie Kirk Memorial. So he went to that. But, so yeah, I'm actually not, AP should be back, tomorrow, but then he's taking off again, not too far into the future. So, yep. AP's been busy. Good day, David. Good stream. Thank you. God bless you, David. You courageously speak out the truth in charity. That's what I do. Candace Owens was communications director for TP. Toilet paper? No, I know. If you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it, and you will even come to believe it yourself. Yeah, that's what sucks. There is no excuse for people to spread false information when you carry a computer in your pocket. It takes a few minutes to do a Google search. All you liars, stop being an ear like Muhammad. Yeah, this happened like 2 weeks ago? I'm just sitting there. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I start seeing everyone posting that Zakir Naik and a bunch of his family members have all been diagnosed with AIDS. And then people start contacting me. David, are you going to make a video about Zakir Naik having AIDS? And I just started going, based on someone tweeting that? Based on someone tweeting. There's not some article or something on his website or something like that. It's just someone tweeted, hey, he's got AIDS. And then everyone started, oh my goodness, he's got AIDS. He's been diagnosed with AIDS, and a bunch of his family members all diagnosed with AIDS. It's like, how is it that anyone can post anything? I mean, how many times have people started sharing stuff and it turned out to be complete nonsense? Like, it hasn't crossed your minds. Hey, maybe before spreading something, try and verify it first. Like this hasn't blown up in people's faces enough times for them to realize, hey, we need to actually pause and investigate before we pass something on. That is interesting. Yep. Stop being like an ear. Muhammad was called the ear because he would believe anything anyone said. And now we've got now you've got millions and millions of people like that on Twitter who will pass on anything. And you see the results. Can actually get someone killed by saying everything this person's like exaggerating and completely misleading people based on what someone has said. And then people say, wow, this guy's so evil, he has to die. Prager, you posted a picture of Dennis Prager watching the vigil paralyzed with breathing machine. After Jesus, Dennis was a mentor, according to Charlie. Yeah, Charlie listed 3 people that were kind of the biggest influences on him. Dennis Prager was one of them. Paralyzed with breathing machine? Wait, is Dennis Prager paralyzed? Is that what you're saying? Hold up. Is Dennis is Dennis Prager paralyzed, guys? Oh, dang. November of 2024, Prager suffered a serious spinal cord injury as a result of a fall. Oh, I didn't even know that. Wow. How did I not know that? That's wild. Did not know that. I pray for Charlie's soul and that his family finds refuge in the body of Christ. Looks like everyone who is around Charlie is doing everything they should be doing right now and exactly what he would want them to do right now. I thought this Charlie Kufar was secretly converting to Islam, but he didn't even think gays should be stoned. Women aren't servants. Very disappointing. Yeah, that would be the objection. It's funny, like everything people are saying. It's like basically Charlie was trying to impose Sharia on everybody. And then you're going, no, he wasn't. And that's exactly why you'd have Muslims not liking him. This man was a person far braver and loving than most of us, and his wife is stepping up. Yep, she's definitely stepping up. Do you agree with Charlie that MLK was a bad person and the Civil Rights Amendment was a mistake? Well, it's another example of looking at what someone actually said. As far as this is one of the things I looked at. One, you can't find him saying that Martin Luther King was a bad person. It's a reporter said that he said it, and so on. As far as the Civil Rights Amendment, it's again, Charlie didn't believe that race. He believed that race is a social construct. He didn't believe that race is a legitimate way of classifying people. But his basic position on the Civil Rights Amendment, why it's bad, I think it was good. He said because the way it's worded, it's basically set up to lead to a bunch of DEI. It's basically made to be weaponized. It's basically, in other words, if you have something to like stop people being segregated, stop segregation and things like that, that would be good. He's saying the way it's put together, it was meant to be weaponized into DEI stuff. I don't know enough about it for me to think that it's a bad thing. I would think of the Civil Rights Amendment as a good thing. As for Martin Luther King, all sorts of messed up things about Martin Luther King. He was having all kinds of affairs. He was banging all kinds of women behind the scenes and stuff like that. Me, I operate on a cool points system. If you've done enough awesome things, I'm going to try and remember you for the awesome things that you've done. If you've done some awesome things, I'm going to remember you for the awesome things. And if you were kind of a dirtbag behind the scenes and stuff like that, I'm not going to focus on that because you've done some really awesome things. So as far as Martin Luther King, it depends on what you mean. If you mean he was a hypocrite in various ways because he wasn't living up to the standards that he was portraying himself in a much more favorable light than what he was behind the scenes. I look at him as you're a human being. You're doing some messed up stuff. I actually made a video with when Ravi Zacharias, when a bunch of stuff came out about Ravi Zacharias, and I pointed out how this sort of thing can happen, how you can get to a place where you're doing messed up stuff behind the scenes, and everyone thinks of you as like this great hero. It's what happens is, one, you've got a human being who is becoming more and more famous. And as you become more and more famous, you're very important to people around the world because of the awesome work that you're doing. But then you slip up behind the scenes. So guess what? There was a time when Ravi Zacharias made his first mistake. It's a time when he slipped up and did something messed up behind the scenes. There was a time when Martin Luther King had his first affair behind the scenes. you can become so important to your movement because, guys, so guess what? We're human beings. We sin. What you're supposed to do when you sin is hopefully, best case scenario, you confess that stuff. You just confess it. Hey, guys, I've screwed up. When you are when you become the face of a big, powerful movement, you start thinking, I can't tell people that I've done this bad thing because people love and respect me so much that it might hurt their confidence in what I'm doing. Therefore, I have to keep it a secret. So in that situation, suppose you don't even want to share what you've done publicly and so on. Okay. But, you should be sharing that with people who are close to you. You should still be confiding in them. Hey, guys, I need some accountability here because you guys don't want to know what I just did. You don't want to know what I just did the other day, but I have to tell you. I really slipped up. You need accountability in your life. But when people become so important, then the people all around them are basically people who, it's not that you're idolizing them, but the people around you who work with you, they've got you propped up on this pedestal. This is the most important person in the world. It is so great that I get to work with this super important person who's doing these amazing things. Well, guess what? The person, the hero, ends up in a position where when he falls short, when he sins, when he does things he's not supposed to be doing, he can't tell anyone. Because it's like everyone, I can't dash all these people's hopes about me and this discredit my movement. My movement is so important that I just have to keep all this stuff to myself when I slip. Well, guess what? Now you've got sort of, you're going to do it again. You're going to end up doing it again, right? Because now you're doing it and you're not confessing it to anyone and you're covering it up. But now you're building up a pattern of covering up the things you've done. Fast forward several years of you doing that, pretty soon you're doing all sorts of things. And by that time you can't tell anyone because you're like, but I can't tell everyone all this stuff I'm doing behind the scenes. It would ruin the movement, and the movement's so important. And so I will just carry this all to my grave. And so that's how that sort of thing happens. So if you say, was Martin Luther King a bad person? Depends on what you mean. In certain ways, he kept putting himself in danger over and over and over again to do something, and ultimately got killed. So I look at that and I say, wow, that's great. That's great stuff. What you're doing behind the scenes, that's really bad and messed up. So anyway, point is, depends on what you mean about Martin Luther King. He was great in certain ways. He was not great in other ways. As far as the Civil Rights Amendment, I think the Civil Rights Amendment was good. I don't know enough about it to see if it's worded in such a way that leads to the bad consequences, which was Charlie's position. But notice, if you want to say Charlie was a horrible, evil person because he said this, okay, actually get the argument right. Here's why he thought the Civil Rights Amendment was a bad idea, because it led to this. And then decide, okay, here's his argument. One, is he wrong? Is he wrong about his reasoning? Is he wrong about the argument? Two, does the fact that, if you think he's wrong, does the fact that he's wrong mean he's a horrible, evil person? Or is he just wrong about something? His reasoning is wrong. If the UK recognizes a Palestinian state, can I, as an Israeli, recognize London as the capital of Ireland? Of course you can. It is pretty messed up. You got Hamas, and Hamas says, you know what? If we just go and kill a bunch of people, take a bunch of hostages, Israel's going to come for their hostages, and they're going to come to find the people who killed all these people. But we spent years building all these tunnels. We're just going to go hide. And Israel's going to keep coming until because we've still got their hostages, and we're all the terrorists are still hiding. Israel's just going to keep coming at us, and people around the world on college campuses and so on are going to weaponize all that. So you see, Israel's the bad guys. Israel's the bad guys. Israel's the bad guys. Look at them. Look at what they're doing. And ultimately, what do you get? You got entire nations saying, you know what? We're going to reward these Hamas guys. These Hamas guys did a great thing. And now we're going to recognize a Palestinian state. Going to recognize that. With that said, fortunately, these countries don't actually have power to do any of this stuff. I suspect, but don't know, that Trump went last because they needed to only have one significant government person in the stadium at a time. They needed to only have one significant government person in the stadium at a time. I don't know what you mean here. Because they definitely had multiple important people there. Are you saying, I don't know what you're saying. Are you saying that, like, when Trump was in there, like, so they had Vance speak. Are you saying that when they had Vance speak, Trump's away somewhere else, and that therefore they needed someone else between Trump and Vance? I don't know what you're saying, but I don't know if there's a rule like that. But I mean, I would assume they're all there. And it's a pattern of Christians to forgive because Christ is the role model, e.g., widow of Graham Staines, who was burned alive with his 2 children, forgave. Yeah, you have lots of things like that. And they had to make the distance between them for security and safety, suspect, but don't know that Trump went last because they needed to only have one significant government person in the stadium at a time. So maybe you're saying that they needed some distance between them just in case there was some attack or something like that. I don't know if that's the case. I'm confused about this whole Charlie Kirk is anti-Israel. Charlie Kirk was not anti-Israel. The only thing I've seen in videos is that he didn't seem to like Netanyahu too much. There was a clip on the PBD podcast where Charlie spoke dislike against the war. Yeah, Charlie was a tremendous defender of Israel. Does not mean that Israel is beyond criticism or that Netanyahu is against criticism. Guys, you don't have blind loyalty to any nation or any government. Why? Nations and governments are made up of human beings, and human beings can do great things and human beings can do bad things and so on. So you don't just have blind loyalty to people and so on. But yeah, the idea, oh, he said this negative thing about this, therefore they wanted to kill him. That's just some insane, deranged nonsense. And that's what, I mean, again, even Dave Smith and Nick Fuentes were like, seriously, this guy was like one of the biggest defenders. And he's the only one who was popular among young people. He's the only defender of Israel who's really popular with young people. And so the idea that Netanyahu's like, oh, he said this on the PBD podcast, I have to kill him. Come on. I mean, again, even Nick Fuentes and Dave Smith are calling that idiotic, and Candace's fans are just obsessed with it. Forgiveness doesn't approve, excuse, or dismiss wrongdoing. It frees the victim and puts the case between the perp and God. Yep, that's a good summary. Jack Ray said, one of the people who did a school shooting survived and is spending life in prison. He came to Christ and teaches other prisoners now. Oh, you've had lots of people who've done horrible stuff, repent and then do good stuff while they're in prison. Forgiveness means not wanting the wrath of God on that person if they truly repent and believe in Christ, knowing that we all deserve it. We pray for them, but we don't allow them to kill us. Yeah, that's true. All right, got a. That's not a major cold, but slight cold. Dr. Wood, was Charlie a martyr for Christ? If so, please define how one would be considered a martyr, because seeing this word used about Charlie, I don't think he was. Kind of depends on what you mean. Normally it's like if you're preaching the gospel and someone kills you for preaching the gospel because you're a Christian and they're trying to stop the gospel, that's what you'd normally think of if you were saying a martyr for Christ. Keep in mind, you can be a martyr for anything. You can be a martyr for anything. If you die for some cause or something like that, you could say someone is a martyr for that cause. So with Charlie, doesn't look like Tyler Robinson killed him just for preaching Christianity or something like that. But I think you can say that Christianity was absolutely the foundation for what Charlie was doing, and that everything else is sort of an outgrowth of that, right? Like it's all connected. It's not, oh, here are the things he's trying to do, and oh, also he's a Christian. They're all connected. So the things Charlie's saying and he's trying to do in the world in various ways, it's all connected to him being a Christian. So here it would depend on it. It would just depend on what you mean. If you want to say, if you want to define martyr for Christ specifically as someone who dies just for preaching the gospel, you could say, well, he wasn't a martyr for Christ then. If you want to take the big picture and look at everything he was doing, I think you could call him a martyr for Christ in that sense. Laura Loomer fought on X with person from the American intelligence. They refused to classify Islamic terror. Maybe post some of your videos in the thread. Classify Islamic terror. I don't know what you mean. But I'll check it out. I'll go. Is that recent? Is that like happening now? Because if so, then I can go to Laura Loomer's page and see what she's arguing about. They said, thank you for making him a fountain and Amalek are blood lickers. It's a weird climate out there. I'm glad we have faith in Jesus. When she said, I forgive you, I bawled. Can you imagine what would happen if Tyler turns to God and spends the rest of his life serving Christ? Well, we can only hope so. And what you'd really hope is, this is what sucks. I don't know that this is going to happen. I mean, he's going to be in prison. I don't know what access he's going to have to anything. I would love, absolutely love some sort of situation where someone sits down with him and says, why did you do this? What are your reasons? What were your objections to Charlie Kirk? Why do you think he was so horrible that the best thing you could do is kill him? Because keep in mind, Tyler, he's not thinking, hey, I'm going to go do this horrible, evil thing. What's he thinking? This guy is so evil. Someone needs to take him out. Tyler thinks he's doing the right thing. That's in his mind, he's doing the right thing, which means he believes this guy is so evil, this guy has to die. Okay. I would just love, what was it that convinced you that this guy is so evil, you have to assassinate him? What was it? And to just list the things, because I can almost guarantee you. Why? Because this is what I see every single time. List the things that you think justify killing this guy. And then after he gives his list, he said this and he said that and he said this and he said black women lack the intellectual ability to process thoughts. And then every time, show him what Charlie actually said. Take him through all of that. Here's what you said he said. Here's what you heard that he said. And you thought this is so evil he has to die. Here's what you heard he said. Here's what he actually said. And go through all of that. And after you've gone through all of that, now that you've actually seen what he really said, do you think he got what he deserved? Love to see that. I publicly challenge AP to Mubahala for associating with Mike Winger. AP, where you at? Yes, AP is blacklisted from everything now until he repents. Thank you, brother. I'm traveling tonight, listening. Great show. Charlie's name translates to Church of Free Men. Oh, yeah, Kirk. Interesting. Hey, David, planning to see a psych about apathy, realizing I might have antisocial personality disorder symptoms. Any tips if I get a diagnosis? I want to have healthy relationships. I think I have Machiavellian tendencies. Well, those would be two different personality disorders, right? With that said, you can have multiple people. A lot of people don't know that you can have multiple personality disorders. They did a study. Now, it was actually in a psychiatric hospital, but they found that over half of the people who meet the criteria for one personality disorder, over half meet the criteria for another personality disorder. And there were people who met the criteria for all 10 personality disorders. Like, I would not want to be around a person who met the criteria for 10 different personality disorders. That sounds really, really weird to me. But as far as if you think you have any social personality disorder, or Machiavellian and so on, one, it's the most important step is, it seems like you're already there, is recognizing that it's a problem and not that you're superior to everyone else, right? That's the biggest step, right? People say, oh, but becoming a Christian, that's the most... Guys, you're not even going to become a Christian. You're not going to become a Christian unless you realize that it's a problem and that you're actually wrong and messed up, right? So step one is recognizing that you have a problem. Sounds like you're recognizing that you actually may have a problem. So that is good. You obviously want to turn to Christ, but you may still have still may have problems associated with personality disorder. But after that, what you'll want to do is figure out how the symptoms of your personality disorder might be an advantage in certain ways. And if they can be an advantage in certain ways, then you might start wondering, maybe that's what I'm actually made for. So like antisocial personality disorder, you probably aren't as fearful as lots of other people of dangerous situations. So notice that can be helpful. That can be helpful if you're arguing against Islam, if you aren't scared of what they can do to you. Or, I mean, if you have antisocial personality disorder, you probably like it when people are like threatening to brutally murder you and so on. It's amusing to you. I just a while back, I did a show with Young Bob. Young Bob is autistic, right? And keep in mind, you don't want to be autistic, but being a high functioning autistic can be helpful in certain. You can't shake his attention off. He will become fixated on something. If he becomes fixated on bringing up a point and arguing, you cannot distract it. You could be hitting young Bob with sticks. He would not it would not distract him from what he's actually, the point he's trying to get across, or the argument he's trying to make, and so on. So yeah, get a diagnosis. It's good you're going to a professional who can run you through some tests. That professional will have some advice for dealing with certain things. But yeah, if you have various symptoms, think of the various situations where those symptoms could actually help you do things that other people might not be able to do as well if they didn't have those issues. And then you have to come up with creative alternatives, right? So if you have antisocial personality disorder, you may not have remorse. You may not feel bad for things you've done. Guys, I've done some messed up things in my life. I've never felt bad for anything I've ever done. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. With this word remorse, whatever it is, I've never felt it in my life at all. Before becoming a Christian, after becoming a Christian, never felt it. I do not feel bad for anything I've ever done. There's no feeling. Keep in mind, I can recognize I've done something wrong and say, okay, that was wrong. Why? Because God sets the rules and I've gone against that. Okay, therefore I need to stop. So I can change. I can turn away from things I've done and set off on a new path. There's no feeling. There's no bad feeling associated. There's no feeling associated with it. So what I have, you could call second order remorse or second order guilt or something like that. It's not the feeling. But here's the thing. This is why I said you need to recognize that you're messed up and you have a problem. So if I do something bad, I don't feel bad for doing it. But I can recognize that I'm defective and messed up because I don't feel bad, right? So when I do something bad and I don't feel bad over it, I recognize that I should feel bad, but I don't feel bad because there's something in me that's missing and I'm defective. Well, guess what? It's not good being defective. right? It's not good being defective and messed up. So when I do something bad and don't feel bad, there's also this recognition and understanding that I'm a defective, messed up person. And that's not good. So I can just call that guilt or remorse. I can say, this guilt, it's not a feeling. It's a recognition of how defective I am. That's not good, right? It's like, I'm messed up. So you actually can come up with replacements that somewhat serve the same function, right? It's good if you feel bad when you do something bad. It's good if you feel remorse. It's good if you feel guilty about certain things and so on. If you lack the feeling, you come up with a replacement to serve the same function. So anyway, that would be a brief outline of my thoughts on that issue. Martin Luther King was never a Christian. Listen, read his letters. Well, I also think he changed. I've never gone through it, and I don't have enough interest in the topic to go and read his letters. Although I read his letter from Birmingham jail. That was probably the best letter I've ever read. That's one of the most epic things I've ever read in my entire life. And that's what I'm saying. This guy, he clearly nailed some things. And I'm not just talking about all the women and so on. But I've also thought that he did change throughout his life. I don't, it's not a topic I'm terribly interested in. Everyone else can figure that out, but I'm not interested in, there's no situation where I'm going to be like, I'm going to go and read Martin Luther King's letters and discover something bad, and then I'm going to start blasting. Why would I want to do that? Do you see how black people could dislike Charlie and his views because of things he said? I get there's nuance, but bigots can be nuanced. What, when he said race is a social construct, so stop lumping together people on race and then applying all these rules based on race that he thinks is a social construct, and he thinks it's actually bad for society to constantly lump people together and make decisions based on race. And he wants that entire system to be broken down and for people to be judged based on their merits. I mean, you're the one who brought up Martin Luther King. What did Martin Luther King say? What kind of world did he want? Where people are judged not based on the color of their skin, but on the content of their character. So Charlie thought that Martin Luther King didn't believe some of what he's saying, and that he may be bad in certain ways. But there, it sounds like exactly what Charlie believed. You judge people based on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. And so if that's kind of Charlie's view, stop lumping the people together and basing all these decisions and rules and policies based on race, just dump that entire system. I could see why I could see people disliking him and so on, but do I have to agree with it? Do I have to agree and say, yes, you should definitely be hostile towards Charlie because race is really important to you, and he thinks we just shouldn't be thinking in those terms. So yeah, I can see why people would have a negative view of that, but what's your argument? No, we should be thinking in terms of race. We should be lumping together people based on race and then categorizing people based on race, and then having all these having affirmative actions. Like, what are you arguing? You think that's good? That we need that? We need to move forward, thinking in these terms. I don't know. It's a situation where if you think he's wrong about something, you should step up to the mic and argue with him about it. But you can't because people shot him instead. Levi Stone talks about a clip of Charlie on October 12th, 2023, where Charlie had questions. Charlie defended the war until the last day, including in Oxford. Yeah, that's the thing. Again, you don't have blind allegiance to anything that's made up of human beings. Keep in mind, you can be loyal to something in certain ways, but not to the extent where you would overlook something that's wrong, right? Like, I mean, I'll die for my country. I can't think of a situation where I would. I can't join the military or anything like that. I'm a convicted felon, but I die for my family. I die for my country. I die to protect someone. doesn't mean that what my family does is beyond criticism, or that what my government does is beyond criticism. It doesn't mean any of that. So you can be loyal in one sense. In fact, I mean, it's good to be loyal to preserving and protecting someone, but not loyal if what you mean is you're treating them as if they're beyond criticism and so on. But anyway, no, Charlie's been a diehard defender of Israel. Doesn't mean that what the government does or something like that is beyond criticism. And so, yeah, the ideas circulating, no, Israel took them out, are just beyond idiotic. Charlie was a Christian first and foremost. He always said that in his speeches. Then he was a father and a husband, and then he was American. That is a good breakdown. And when I say good, I don't mean good for him. I mean, that is how people should be thinking. On a lighter note, did you see Mike Winger was photobombing a lot of nice people's pics at the event and humble bragged about being mistaken for Matt Walsh? I like the nerd emojis here, but that's a good summary. No, I was not paying attention to what Mike Winger was doing. It sounds like something he would do, ruining other people's pictures, ruining other people's days. And then, being mistaken for Matt Walsh. That's funny. You got two nerds there. It's like, hey, look, I look like this other nerd. Paul said, it happened last night. Laura fought with DNI personal over Al-Qaeda terror attack threat alert. They classified it as extreme violence, not Islamic. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I didn't see that. I started following you after your testimony, finding Christ after your war with psychopathy and the prison system, seeing Tyler Robinson, who is obviously a psychopathic killer. It could have been us. Yeah, that's why I said I'd be interested. I would love to sit down and talk to the guy. I would love to sit down and talk to him and see what was going on in his head. And then, because guys like that are not thinking, I'm doing this horrible, evil thing. That's a guy who is convinced that he's right. Tyler Robinson, who is obviously a psychopathic killer. I don't think he's a psychopathic killer. I think that's a guy who heard what other people were saying and was convinced that someone is so horrible, such an abomination that, well, I just have to do something here. I believe it was the Holy Spirit that worked with Charlie as it worked with you. I witnessed this in recent years in my life. Spread the word. Want to say thanks for your live streams. You are also an inspiration like Charlie was. A Baptist evangelist told me that you can't lose salvation. Thus, people who were faithful but became apostates were never really Christian in the first place. Same logic as Muslims. Thoughts on this? I don't. If you say once saved, always saved, or you reject once saved, always saved, to me, it's always like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, did you actually believe in Christianity and then you later rejected it? So you were a Christian but not a Christian? Okay, guess what? That happens. Look at Bart Ehrman or something like that. Whereas if you say you're saved, and that means something like your name is written in the Lamb's book of life from an eternal perspective, and God knows who's going to persevere and so on. Well, guess what? If you were raised as a Christian and you're living as a Christian for a long time, and if you weren't really saved, then you would say it would be weird to say your name is written in the Lamb's book of life and then it was erased. Something. So anyway, the point is, I don't know. It just depends on what you mean. It depends on what you mean. There are obviously people who believe in the gospel and then later don't believe in the gospel and so on. So you describe them as saved then not saved. I don't know, but it's just, I don't know what the obsession is with it. And I don't really, it's over and over again. It's the same thing. Like, you're saying this and you mean this, you're saying this and you mean this. And okay, if that's what you mean, I guess. And if that's what you mean, I guess. And I don't think that I want to jump in and start arguing with you guys, because I'm thinking it depends on what you mean. So anyway, D Wood, what's your email? Need advice on a situation. I don't give the best advice on situations, but you can find my email on my YouTube page. But do you feel remorse about not feeling remorse? Again, you could call it second order remorse. So I do feel remorse, D. Wood, but I also become amused sometimes when people threaten me. Does that mean I'm in one of the wackadoodle categories? Well, you wouldn't have antisocial personality disorder, but you could have something else. And you might just have an aggressive personality. Lots of people. I said this years ago. Matter of fact, yeah, I was saying this, and I was even saying this about the Daily Wire. I said this like, what, 3 or 4 years ago or something like this. I was saying, one thing I noticed back in the day, because I've been doing this for a while, but you had like the counter jihadis, right? The people who were responding to jihad and the threat of jihad and so on. And I would see these people work together at conferences for a little while, but behind the scenes, things eventually break down and they don't end up working well together behind the scenes. I started figuring out why that is. And the reason why that is because, especially back in the day, it's different now. It's more acceptable now. It's more common now. You have way more people doing it now. If you go back, there was way fewer people responding to the threat of jihad and Islam and so on. Back then, as I pointed out, you got blasted by everyone. You got blasted with threats of violence from the keyboard jihadis. Atheists attacked you. Christians attacked you for being mean. Everyone's just attacking you for being a mean, heartless monster if you were criticizing Islam and jihad. Well, the people who tended to continue doing that anyway, in spite of being constantly attacked from all sides, the people who continued to do that, no matter how many times you call them Islamophobes, no matter how many times you call them racist, they just keep going after Islam. They tend to be pretty aggressive people who don't like taking crap from people and don't like backing down. And those are good qualities if you're dealing with jihad and Islam. It's good to have an aggressive personality, to not back down from threats or intimidation. But people who have those personality types, they usually don't work well with other people. Why? Because eventually you disagree with someone about something. You eventually disagree. And guess what? If you disagree with someone, two people who are very aggressive and who don't back down, and they disagree about something, what happens? It blows up. It blows up. They start attacking each other, right? And that's why people didn't work well together behind the scenes. And so, I noticed that over the years. And then, so I mentioned several years ago that I was surprised that the Daily Wire had lasted as long as it did, because why? Everyone there, not everyone there. Well, to one extent or another, but a lot of them very aggressive in sharing their ideas, don't back down, non-compromising attitude and so on. How are these guys even holding it together? It seems like some of these guys are going to like blow up on each other, right? And so I was remarking several years ago, like, it's impressive that they've been able to hold it together this long. Well, fast forward a couple of years later and it all breaks down. So the point is, no, it doesn't mean you have some sort of personality disorder or something like that. You could just have an aggressive personality and you don't like to take a lot of crap and you don't back down, which again is good in certain contexts. You just have to control it. You have to control it. And the example in Plato's Republic, they have this discussion. So they're trying to make like the ideal city, and they come up with the ideal government and so on. And they're talking about their soldiers eventually. They want the most just brutal soldiers on the planet. I don't mean brutal in a bad sense. I mean, they want the most diehard soldiers on the planet, just trained from the time they're children to be the ultimate military. But then they realize, wait a minute, if we're getting these extremely aggressive fighters who are they're just born and raised to just fight, how are we going to stop these guys from just taking over the city and keeping it for themselves, right? So that happens. You have militaries who just, hey, why aren't we in charge? Why are we listening to this old dork who calls himself king, or this old guy over here, this politician. Why are we taking orders from these guys? We just take it all. We just take this over for ourselves and we'll be in control, right? And I thought, okay, if we've taken the most aggressive people by nature, just the people who are just born, some people are born like more fighters than other people. So they actually want to take the people who are like just naturally aggressive. They want to take these and then they want to mold them into this super aggressive military fighting force. How are we going to stop those guys from taking over? And they get puzzled over this and they start thinking, is it even possible? It's like, wait a minute, we want them to be gentle and loving towards the citizens and would never think of harming their own citizens, but extremely violent and aggressive towards opposing, towards outsiders, towards other militaries and so on. How do we get someone who's like kind and loving and gentle, simultaneously brutal, aggressive warriors? How? It seems like two opposing natures. How do we get a soldier who's simultaneously both? Is it even possible? And they start wondering, is this possible? How can this be possible? And then Socrates says, wait a minute. We know it's possible because there's an animal like that. It's called a dog. If you have a good dog, that dog is very aggressive towards outsiders. And yet you can leave that dog with your baby and would be completely gentle with your baby and would fight an outsider to the death to protect your baby. And so they conclude that you just have to raise them in a certain way to where they know how to turn it off. And this is, I'm saying this because this is a problem. There's an ongoing problem. You have the aggressive you have the aggressive people, and they're aggressive, but eventually they turn their aggression on each other and they start attacking each other. You need to train yourself to where I'm aggressive towards people that I should be aggressive towards. And I dial it way back and I'm not aggressive towards people that I shouldn't be acting like that towards. In other words, you shouldn't be acting like that towards your family, towards your friends, towards people you're working with, towards people with really bad, dangerous ideas. That's when you want to dial it up. So, it's mainly if you recognize you have an aggressive personality, you need to pause and think. I need to channel and direct this for good and not let it be turn into something bad or destructive in my family or among my friends. Velvet Jazz says, I come for the podcast info, but stay for the excellent, insightful commentary. Thanks, Stellar, as always. Thanks, Velvet Jazz. Thoughts on Tucker's comment on those eating hummus? I haven't seen that comment yet, but probably go through it tomorrow. As I mentioned, haven't watched these. And if the ones I decide to watch, I'll probably just watch them live. And it might just be at random time. In other words, if it's like 5 o'clock tomorrow and I'm like, hey, you know what? I might watch this Tucker talk. I might watch the Tucker speech, or most of them are shorter. Most of them were shorter talks. So those should be easy. But anyway, if I'm going to watch one of them tomorrow, I might just say, I might just set aside like half an hour and watch one of the shorter ones and then talk about it for a couple minutes and so on. The point is, if I'm going to watch it by myself, I might as well just jump on live and watch it with everyone else, especially for people who haven't seen it. But I did see in the chat and in people posting on Twitter after Tucker spoke something about eating hummus. So we'll have to see what that's about. Where is obsessive compulsive disorder on the mental illness list? I always felt like it was the opposite of psychopathy. Yeah, that's a different category. Obsessive compulsive disorder, would that be the opposite of psychopathy? As far as I guess if you get anxiety about things not being a certain way, and psychopaths don't really get anxiety. Why are you always blaming me for everything? I didn't do anything. Oh, locus of control. Nice. Nick Fuentes lies about Charlie Kirk in August 2025. Not surprising at all. But even then, I wouldn't want to say Nick. I still wouldn't want to say Nick Fuentes. I don't like calling people liars unless I've like seen the lie. And even then, I'm not terribly fond about calling people liars unless I have some indication that they knew that they were making stuff up and said it anyway. So yeah, I have to say, just I've seen plenty of things Nick Fuentes said where if he wasn't lying, he was extremely stupid, and he doesn't sound like he's stupid to me. So a sheepdog is the perfect analogy for that. Extremely aggressive and brutal towards wolves and predators, but very gentle towards the sheep. Yeah, and it is. I mean, it is interesting that you have Plato writing the Republic. So keep in mind these most massively likely were not things that Socrates said. He may have said a couple like things that inspired Plato. Well, put it this way. Socrates said all kinds of things that inspired Plato. But as far as like when Plato is writing something like the Republic, that's Plato putting his ideas. Now, how much any idea may have been connected to something that Socrates said, it's always possible that it's connected to something Socrates said, but generally the Republic, that's Plato's ideas. If Socrates said something that's connected to something in there, we just don't know anymore because we don't have stuff that like Socrates actually wrote for himself and so on. But I mean, it's interesting, like phenomenal book. One of the greatest works of philosophy ever. My favorite work of philosophy ever. But it's just interesting how it proceeds, and then it's, oh my goodness, we're trying to make the ultimate soldiers. Our entire plan is going to break down. Why? Because if we make these soldiers into these ultimate killing machines that we want them to be, who's going to protect us from these extreme killing machines? How can we do this? Hey, wait a minute. There are these things called dogs that can be like that. What's that mean? It means that the two natures can be in the same being. And we just have to raise them to where they're like that. There's just, I don't know. I think it's interesting how the discussion proceeds and the examples he uses. Brilliant stuff. Everyone should read The Republic. There'll be tons of stuff in there that is completely silly, but it's all brilliant. And Ash says, send in a super, got compared to a dog. That's what happens here, Ash. That's what happens. That's what happens. Be a good guard dog, Ash. That's what we're here for. We're here to be good guard dogs. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me as I watch that. Powerful stuff. And I'll probably, as far as I'll probably ask AP. So AP was there. I'll probably say, okay, what were the best and most important speeches? And I'll probably ask him about that and then decide which ones I want to watch. And then whatever ones I watch, I'll probably just jump on live like I did now, set it up a little in advance and say, okay, this time we're going to go through this. And the reason is whatever else happens, you do want Charlie's work to continue. I have no idea who's going to take his place. There are people who are great at having the like campus debates and so on, like Frank Turek was one of the speakers there. Frank's awesome at that stuff. There are other people who are awesome at that stuff. But who's actually going to take over? Don't know. But we definitely want to carry on the work and be forces for preserving, restoring, and building, and not forces of destruction. And Tertullian here says, Ali B. Stuckey's video was Martin Luther King a Christian hero? Is that a good place to start? Again, I can't say I'm terribly interested in the topic. Guy who was assassinated many years ago. And let me put it this way. Suppose I go and I find out, wow, he's a way bigger dirtbag than I thought, or he's way better than I realized. It's like, what am I? I've kind of got other things to do now, right? Things that are like extremely relevant, like right now. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me as I went through that, and we'll have more in the coming days. Catch y'all later.